Well, all right. Welcome back to the video game podcast that you need in your life. I need
Oh yeah,
in my life. Frank,
yeah. Just the one. No need for others.
yeah, the
This is all
one,
you
the only,
need.
the alpha, the omega.
Yeah,
Uh, this is Chris Frank Games, and I am the Chris Dots, and we have the Frank White. Frank, how's it going?
it's going pretty good. All other video game podcasts are fake news.
Well, they're tired old opinions. That's
Yeah.
uh, that's my thoughts. And Frank, the reason why I wanted to start this podcast many moons ago was that I got tired of all these same people saying the same thing, the same opinions, same thoughts. I was like,
Bunch of phonies.
a bunch of phonies. I was like, we need someone who's real, who's willing to cut through the noise and give people unfiltered video game opinions.
And I am definitely a real person, and in
Yeah,
no way a robot or crisis actor.
there you go. That's proof right there.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. So we are going to give one of those unfiltered shows right here on the show tonight. We don't have a whole lot of news. We're talking about sharks getting named after video games. It's a slow news week.
Yeah. Well, it's a happy Resident Eve all because it's the eve of Resident Evil 2
Yeah. Well,
being
remember
released.
Sonic Tuesday back in the day? Why don't game companies do that anymore? Right? Resident
Yeah.
Evil. Why not?
Yeah.
But
But of course, as you folks are listening to this, it will already be Resident Eve Day, Resident Dayville, Resident Evil
Morningville?
Day. Whatever. It'll be out.
You know what? I
in your
actually
pretty
did
little
add
mess.
that to the topic list at the last minute. I thought we might as well fill some time. Might as well just talk about Resident Evil 2 right away because it does. It comes out at midnight tonight or something like that.
I don't know.
I'm assuming.
I gotta wait to get off of work and the kids go to bed and
You can't play
physical
that with the
copy to
little.
arrive.
You can't play Resident Evil 2 with the little 1-year-old.
No,
under-
it
underneath?
looks a little too intense for a 3-year-old. Just a smidge. I mean, and she's not squeamish at all. Like,
That's good for a 3-year-old. That's good. Well, you can play as a girl.
no,
character, right?
her favorite toys are flashlights.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, no, I don't think she'd be able to handle the gore.
Yeah, that may be true.
She, she's already walked in on like I'm watching like British comedy shows, and she walks in, and just happens at that moment that somebody, as kind of a gag in the show, shoots themselves in the face, and like another character gets sprayed with blood, and she walked down like right in that moment. I'm like, that lady just has jelly on her face, honey. Let's go upstairs.
Just make ketchup.
So yeah,
Frank,
she's gonna be like, boy, those people have lots of jelly on them.
what British comedy shows are shooting people in the face? I thought I knew my. British
It was
comedy.
Toast of London.
Oh, okay. Is that like a John Cleese vehicle that came out?
No, it's a newer one. It's God, what's the guy's name? He was the sidekick on Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Does a lot of
that
voiceover
guy.
work. You'd recognize him if you saw him.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's very possible. All right, so Resident Evil 2. So how are you going to be buying this? Are you going to be doing digitally, or are you going to get a physical copy?
No, I broke my rule yet again, and I pre-ordered it. So, and it's shipped already. So Capcom's always on top of these things. Not like Rockstar. Squint, angry squinting.
Well, when you have
so
a game come out more than once every 10 years, you have pretty good relations with your distributors, I guess.
yeah.
I'm guessing. So what, you're going to get it from the local video game store?
No, it's just coming from Amazon. The local, that's actually like become a thing. I was talking to my friend the other day about another video game that we're going to talk about on this podcast today, Ace Combat, because a friend of mine's been playing that. And so I was telling him about how I got kind of interested in it, and I decided while I was grocery shopping, I was going to just run in quick to the mom and pop video game store and be like, all right, if they have a copy, I'm going to buy it. If they don't, I'm not going to.
I made
And
one
they
of those
did.
deals. deals with the devil before. I don't want to
Yeah.
get it, but okay, they have it. I'll just get it.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
yeah. If it's here, if the guy can show it to me, I will buy it. I mean, I still have $5 left of store credit, but they didn't, and so we were talking about, yeah, it's like it's not easy to get new games, physical copies, just like walking into a store these days, uh, for whatever reason. I feel like because of pre-orders, like they have so many earmarked. I think they just don't print that many more copies than they think they'll need
Also,
these
I think
days.
it might
So,
be they may just not know what the demand is, right? I mean, actually,
yeah,
I think Ace Combat actually sold really, really well, which we'll talk about in a second. I don't think they want like bundles and bundles of Ace Combat 7 for
yeah.
$5.99 like a year down the road, right? I mean,
No.
by over games, so
Yeah,
gotta be nice.
so anyway, it's not easy to just get a physical copy of a brand new game, like you could in back in the day. I can't just ride my bike to Best Buy and get Diddy Kong Racing anymore. So now it's coming on Amazon. So, I'd feel
Yeah.
guilty about it, but as I always say, no ethical consumption under capitalism. So,
Yeah. It's well, all you can say is just get better, right? Mom and pop, get better. Make
yeah.
a phone call over to Namco Bandai.
Well, they don't need
Good
me.
enough.
They sell plenty of Magic cards.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So, but back to Resident Evil really quick too. So, tons of reviews hit yesterday, I believe, on Wednesday, as we record this, and blah blah blah. So I don't know. IGN gave it a 8.8, which is kind of amazing for IGN to give a big game like this kind of a middling. I mean, 8.8 is a good score, right? But I mean,
Yeah. Um, well, the IGN review, did you see how much they had to redact? It
I
was
did
kind
not.
of a
So I heard about this, right? Because the guy didn't play like the second mode or something like that.
well, I've seen other reviewers make this same mistake. So maybe it is true that it's like a little confusing for noobs to understand what's going on, because even though Capcom said they weren't going to, they have kept the A scenario, B scenario structure of the original Resident Evil 2, which means there are 4 different ways to play the game. Says the A scenario is kind of the main game, and then the B scenario is a shorter scenario that you play with the other character. But they're not tied specifically to the characters. So you can play A scenario with Leon or Claire, and then you can play the B scenario with whichever one you didn't. So, but yeah, a lot of reviewers seem to have gotten very confused about that and have played through the A scenario with each character and then been like, it's really similar when you play with both characters. And it is, but it's like, that's not really, you're not really intended to play that way. You're supposed to go A, B, A, B if you're playing through everything. Which, of course, we did as kids, but I don't know if I have the gumption to actually go for now. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do Leon A, Claire B. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
You better figure it out. Everyone's waiting with
This is what I'm going to be
breath.
thinking about all through work tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, all right. Listen, I'm the first to jump on video game reviews, but I mean, come on, who gives a shit about stuff like that, right? I mean, yeah, maybe it's factually incorrect, but like, is the base game reviewed? I mean, it's the same thing, right? So.
Well, I mean, they made that point in the review, like to knock it the game a little bit. That the scenarios were too similar, so that's why they're getting so much grief. Is because their main negative complaint about the game was something that they were wrong about, which doesn't really happen very often. Like,
So,
I'm usually here to defend the video game journalism community against the legions of annoying gamers, but because most of the time, yeah, we're just talking about opinions. But no, they actually they literally did something wrong, and then knocked the game for it.
see,
But,
Frank going to the dark side here. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe the game is confusing about how it works or something, and it didn't help that the developers were all coy about whether they were going to keep that structure or not. But
Yeah. Well, okay, what? So that would have bumped it to an 8.9 or something. Do you think the guy actually took that into consideration for making the score?
Yeah.
But yeah, did you any other reviews that you particularly watched or anything like that?
Not a ton because I've been trying to avoid too many spoilers. And
I started watching DF Digital Foundry. John Linneman had another Resident Evil 2 video comparison to the original Resident Evil 2, but he kind of goes by like each story beat in the game. And I've like actually, I'm sorry, I haven't actually really played Resident Evil 2 all the way through. So like, I'm like, you know,
yeah,
actually, I might play this. I'm not gonna go through all this video
yeah, you
right
got
now.
to be careful for spoilers because they're um you know, since it's a 20-year-old game, they're not no one really like is giving much of a crap. So if you're actually worried
Yeah.
about spoilers, yeah, definitely avoid the
Well,
media because yeah, people aren't treating it with kid gloves as if it was a brand new story. Though presumably they're throwing some twists and turns in here.
yeah.
You know, I don't think it's going to be slavishly devoted to the plot points of the original game.
Yeah,
So
well, zombies, killing people. You shoot zombies and umbrella. I mean, what? Just mix some
yeah,
stuff together with that, and you're good, right? That's the game. All right, so you're looking forward to that. That should be you'll be talking about that next week.
yeah,
This is your
we'll
most
see how
anticipated game?
far.
I'm sorry. Is this your most anticipated game in some time? Would you say?
Yeah, I mean it's the only thing I pre-ordered in a while. So
Yeah. All right, there you go. All right, so that's Resident Evil 2. We started at the bottom, and now we're going back to the top. Okay, so Ace Combat. Ace Combat hit last week, and I'm not. I don't think I've actually played any of these Ace Combat games. The only thing I really remember about Ace Combat is one of those original PlayStation ads that Namco, because Namco was the king back on the PlayStation 1, right? And they had these ads touting like how Tekken and Ridge Racer and Ace Combat were just cutting edge, bleeding edge stuff. So I just saw an ad for this Ace Combat game. Looked cool, but I was never really into these like real world fighting simulators. I'm more of a space simulator kind of guy. So Frank, what's your experience?
it's weird how you're the opposite with like if you're on foot, you want to have real guns, not laser
Yeah.
guns. But if you're flying a ship, you want it to be a spaceship, not a real
Yeah,
ship.
exactly. I just don't
Okay.
think the locking on thing. I don't think that's a fun gameplay mechanic. Like, it's like, come on, that's not you're not really shooting stuff, right? But, anyways, go ahead.
Well, you know, it's not super. It's not like a flight sim.
Yeah, it's more
You know, I think
yeah.
that was. I always thought that the series was more flight simulator ish. And I mean, they're not like totally wacky arcade games, but they are much more you know, player friendly arcade ish than a traditional flight simulator. And but the real draw, at least for me, is just like the fact that we've got mostly real planes, but in this kind of bizarre alternate universe. I think it's called the Strange Real universe, and so it's like there are kind of broad similarities with you know, real world history, but like it's all different countries and the continents are different, and so it's like the kingdom of Europa or Eurasia or something like that. And they're very like over the top anime kind of stories. So it's just this weird like fusion of like semi realistic flight combat with like a bonkers,
Like a
you know, Japanese
Metal Gear
video game
Solid
story.
crazy story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, of
Um,
course, we got the famous meme, the infamous meme of the dog.
oh yeah,
Have you
it's
seen
been
this?
going around. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen this,
It's
it's
just a
hilarious.
cutscene.
It's a cutscene, and everything is beautifully rendered. It's got the heat, of the hot air rainbow of the heat and all that stuff. And it's like this family scene that's doing cutscene, and this family is completely rendered and all this stuff. And then next to them is this JPEG basically of a dog, of a golden retriever, and they did the kind of this ripple effect on the dog to make it look like it's somewhat alive or something. I don't know, but it's
It reminds me of bad taxidermy. If you ever go look at the bad taxidermy viral photos out there, like it's just not quite right, man.
Yeah. So I don't. What was the decision and to do? Like they had to have a dog in the scene or something. I'm not familiar with the scene. I don't know if they talk about
Who
dogs.
knows?
But are dogs even allowed on runways? I mean, I don't think so, right? I'm not
But like,
a.
I believe in I believe in that cutscene. It's like the royal family of one of these nations, so they're allowed to have the royal dog on deck.
Well, we need a dog in this cutscene. It's going to cost us $100,000 to render a dog. Just find an image. Just take a photo of a golden retriever.
Yeah.
No problem.
I mean, like maybe the guy who was in charge of modeling the dog got fired, or
Or he had the password to his computer or something like that, and he
yeah.
got fired. He didn't want to give it to him.
Uh,
All right, hit to his workstation. All right, so you are going to get Ace Combat, do you think, in the near future?
yeah, probably down the line. I don't think I'll probably wait for it to get a little cheaper. I don't think it's you know, I'm gonna be busy shooting zombies here.
Yeah.
But
Does your friend like it?
yeah, he's very much enjoying it. He was more familiar with the franchise. I was actually commenting that like this console generation, specifically the last couple of years, there's been kind of a running theme of like niche Japanese like long running franchises that like have finally caught my attention.
Like a renaissance.
Like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter was something that totally was in the background, and then Monster Hunter World came along, and I was like, I might actually want to play this. And then it was actually like, you know, this is a Monster Hunter game for people who have never played Monster Hunter. So I guess this is an Ace Combat game for people who never played Ace Combat. Though the franchise has been dormant for a while, and the last few entries were like a poorly received free to play game.
Yeah.
And then
PS3, right? I believe.
Yeah, and then before that, it was like one that ditched the like goofy Strange Real universe and was actually in real world locations for some reason, and no one liked that. So
yeah, Digital Foundry actually has a pretty. John Lemon again has a pretty good review of all the Ace Combat games, and taking a look at Ace Combat 7, all the effects, and by the way, made with Unreal. Kind of another interesting thing, and you know, this is of course Namco, who did Tekken 7 with Unreal, so it's really interesting seeing all these Japanese studios move.
Yeah, they're finally joining the middleware crowd. I mean, you know, not everybody though. Capcom's still like Resident Evil's their own engine, and Konami.
Mega Man though, I think was Unreal, I believe. The Mega Man
Probably.
11. Yeah. Why did they use
and then
that?
Konami's got their own engine that they don't do crap with except for FIFA, but
yeah, or what do you call it? Pez. By the way, Ace Combat. I think probably we had the best water so far in video games with Sea of Thieves. I think Ace Combat 7 is the best clouds ever so far.
Yeah, there are some good looking clouds, and I was watching some videos on. I think the thing that really cinched it for me is like I will definitely probably play this. I will definitely get this game at some point. Was they're talking about the sound design? That apparently the game has some very good sound design, music, and you know, the roar of the engines. But since clouds have a gameplay purpose as well, they're not just there to be pretty, and they're volumetric, so you can fly into clouds to like break missile lock-ons and stuff. Though then you have to contend with the low visibility, and apparently in colder weather your plane can ice up if you spend too long in a cloud. But from an audio perspective, the music becomes muted. Not muted as in like off, but like it gets lower, and I think a little bassier, you know, like it becomes duller. And then when you emerge from the clouds, it swells back up for a little, you know, procedural drama in there. So that's, you know, even though I can't turn my stereo up these days because the kids are sleeping. Oh, well, it's me. I really appreciate sound design in video games. And so that was the thing that really clinched it for me.
Yeah,
but yeah, those clouds look damn good too.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the sound design, and also I guess it has a VR mode as well. So another reason.
Yeah, though weirdly, it is not the whole game. The VR mode is just a little side thing.
Well, I guess because they had to tone down the graphics. I think that's part of the reason why.
Yeah.
Tone back the detail. So
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame because the games where you're in a cockpit are always the best things for VR because then it's like, well, how do we deal with movement? Well, you're in a thing that's moving. Problem
yeah,
solved.
why wasn't it the whole thing in VR? You got a good point there. I mean, why wasn't it made for VR, right? I guess. All right, all right. So there you go, Ace Combat. So. All right, and then what? By the way, did you ever play an Ace Combat game before? You never played one before?
No, no, no.
No, neither have I. So, all right, and then here's news of the weird. I guess. Here, I'm just gonna read the story. Paleontologists took a cue from retro games when naming a prehistoric shark. They dubbed it this name, which I'll say, after an '80s arcade shooter, Galaga. They bestowed the unusual name upon the newly discovered species because its teeth look a bit like the classic game's spaceships. The name, the land name, Corderus cavernus, eater of quarters. Okay, that's a bad Latin joke, but no, it's a Galadon norquisitai or something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Galaga, you Galaga fan? I don't know.
I have played Galaga.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
right?
Well, not back. Well, I mean, probably back in the day, but no, when in my era when we went to the arcade, we were playing, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Galaga, what the ship that would go around, or was
Galaga
Galaga
no, Galaga was a more. Oh wait, maybe.
Galaga was the Namco loading screen game, right? You could play for the early PS1. Speaking of Namco.
Isn't it it's just an early form of a more traditional shoot 'em up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like space. Yeah, it's basically like.
But it's on one screen.
Yeah, it's like Centipede, but it's not like Centipede. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
God, I'm gonna have to go look it up now.
Gradius is the one that goes. I don't know. Who cares? shoot 'em up.
Let's just name all the classic arcade. Tempest, Pac-Man.
All these games. All right, so that's pretty much all the news I had. Did you have anything for us?
Well, yeah, I feel like we probably should talk about the Donkey Kong 64 stream last weekend.
All right, so I just heard peripheral about this. I just know.
Yeah, no,
AOC.
I was trying to explain it to my mom. Oh yeah, we're right. Galaga is kind of the a little Space Invaders-y. Yeah, okay. That's the one I was thinking of.
Frank showed me a picture from his phone through Skype onto our through the YouTube. That's pretty amazing stuff right there.
Yeah, somebody might even see that someday besides Chris.
We had 2 comments on the show last week, so there you go. By the way, we should just talk about this because he actually may be listening to the show now. We were talking about Game Pass, Microsoft Game Pass, and he was basically saying, because I was saying, well, I think we were kind of extolling the.
We couldn't remember how it works. We're like, what is? Yeah.
Yeah, he basically said it was the best value in gaming. He saved thousands of dollars not buying games because of it. Which, hey, I agree. I totally agree about that. But that's if you're a person who like just plays a bunch of games. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not. I play very kind of specific niche games. But
yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, viewer, who is definitely not a Xbox employee.
Yeah. Sure.
Right, the H Bomber Guy Donkey Kong 64 stream. I attempted to explain this to my mom because she was in town and I was watching it, and yeah, that was futile. But hopefully, you, dear listeners, will have enough of a background in video games to understand what some of the hell these things I'm talking about are. But yeah, so long story short, the leftist video game YouTuber H Bomber Guy, who has some good videos, I definitely recommend checking him out. I actually watched the entire defense of Dark Souls 2 video he did. I don't agree with all of it, but it was some interesting stuff, and it was a 2-hour video. And like, so that's the longest YouTube video I've ever watched.
What, saying it's great and to the haters, or what is he defending?
Well, yeah, because Dark Souls 2 is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the franchise. And so, yeah, he was like, I mean, a lot of it was just kind of like, well, it improved on Dark Souls in certain ways, and it's not as bad as you think. And obviously 2 hours worth of more elaborate stuff, um, but still an interesting video. And the fact that I watched the entire thing, he should be very proud. I'm sure he cares. No, so he decided to do a Donkey Kong 64 stream because he could never beat the final boss as a child. And the purpose of the stream was to 101% the game and also get literally like 100%, like even the stuff that doesn't count towards the official game counter percentage. So getting every single banana and like banana coin, including the one that was discovered 20 years later. Because there's one banana coin like hidden in the ground in some tall grass, and no one knew about it for 20 years. Oh, yeah. And so when somebody found it, probably by data mining the game, it like invalidated all of the 100% speed runs.
Was it
we gotta clear the board, guys.
Was that coin real, or was it like just a glitch that someone left in the level? Do we know that?
No, it was like a real thing.
Was it real objective? I know, but did someone really place that thinking that, hey, someone's going to find this? Or did someone just like leave that in the level on accident and forget to delete it?
Who knows about the backstory? Because, yeah, it's like the only, I don't know if they data mined or if someone was literally just slapping the ground everywhere. Because there's no indication that it's there. And it's not counted towards your percentage, so no one knew that they were missing anything until someone finally did find it. But anyway,
how do you get it? Do you break through the polygons or something like that, or do we
know? No, it's just one of those things where you just have to do the Donkey Kong slap on the ground and it pops out.
Oh, randomly.
And like you do that, and if there wasn't the tall grass there, you would be able to see like whatever indicator is that the ground has one. Oh. So it's hidden in the ground, and because they're like lots of them are hidden in the ground, you have to do the slap. I never played Donkey Kong 64; it doesn't actually look that great. It wasn't. Yeah. But I played Donkey Kong Country, and yeah, that was like a big thing. Was like, this looks like the center of a thing. There's probably a banana hidden in here. Wha-bam! There totally is. Yep.
Groundbreaking mechanic, by the way. It's basically a butt pound for Mario.
Yeah. So he was doing this stream, and not like a speed run or anything, because he'd never done it before. So because I think it's like 5 hours is the actual speed run for doing this. Oh, God. This charity stream took 57 hours. Though he did get to sleep when they hit like various thresholds. But they kept the stream going and just put a skeleton in the chair, like a plastic skeleton, and kept the chat going, and the game paused. But the reason for doing this was to raise money for Mermaids Gender, a trans youth charity in the UK that recently had its like grants reviewed because, and this is where it starts to just get really weird. 2019, who'd have thunk? So this this charity was in the running to get a grant from the UK government, and the Irish TV writer Graham Lineham, who's the guy who wrote the IT Crowd and like was it Blackadder? Or
this guy's a you hear about these alt-right. This is a real kind of alt-right kind of guy, right? This guy's kind of
well, no, he's what's known as a TERF, which is an acronym for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. So he's a left winger, yeah, it's just this bizarre kind of subculture of the left. Where they believe in everything else as the same as other liberals and leftists basically, but they really don't like trans people, specifically trans women. That always seems to be the thing. It's like no one really no one really cares about the trans men because it's like, oh, it just looks like just looks like a fat guy, or like a guy that guy looks like a little kid. Um, there's people get much more uncomfortable about the transitioning to female. Uh, they so the TERFs believe that it's kind of an invasion of femininity, and it's men stomping into women's spaces, and that they don't believe these are actually women, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, so basically it's all the guy ever talks about on Twitter. I don't know why. Like, I looked and I have like 60 people I follow on Twitter still follow the guy. And it's like, why? Because he hasn't talked about making a TV show in a while. And then I'm thinking back and I'm like, the IT crowd in retrospect really was kind of coasting on its really good cast rather than, like, it's got a few good lines. But yeah, mostly it's like Richard Ayoade like carrying the show. But anyway, so he went on to Mumsnet, which I think is like a parenting forum in the UK. I don't know. And like started a campaign to like a concern troll campaign to tell the government that they should not be giving this charity this grant because they're shooting kids up with hormones and whatnot. So basically, to spite him, they were going to raise money for the charity instead through this, and it really, really took off. Over the course of the 57 hours, they raised nearly $350,000. And then, like, once it started to kind of snowball, it turned into like just a celebrity cavalcade of people coming in on like Discord or something. So people joining via voice to talk to him as he's playing the game, separate from the chat, which I don't know if you've ever looked at a Twitch chat of something that's really popular, but like it just goes flying by. You can't follow anything. Yeah. But yeah, so people joined my voice, and it was so like at one point he got really stuck on Beaver Bother, which is a mini game where you have to knock beavers into a pit in a short amount of time. He was really struggling with it. Like, I don't know how much of the stream that took up, but he was having a real hard time with it, and it ended up being like Jim Sterling, the another YouTuber. And Chelsea Manning, came on the phone to give him advice on how to beat this. And yeah, it was just a lot of guests. They were getting lots and lots of people on. It was lots of activists and other YouTubers and trans people, and like I tuned in, and there was like guys from the leftist podcast Chapo Trap House, and Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything, Chris Kluwe, the old kicker from the Vikings, and then but the big one like was actually like making news was that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came on, which just sitting back for a moment. That you've got a sitting U.S. Congresswoman popping into a Donkey Kong 64 live stream for a British charity to spite the writer of the IT crowd, and it's just hard to wrap your head around that. And like, and my mom doesn't know what any of those things are, so she had no idea. But
describe that to a 65-year-old woman.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean.
But yeah, so John Romero was on there, one of the makers of Doom. The guy, the original voice actor for Donkey Kong in the game came on. I'm probably missing tons and tons of people. That was just some of the highlights that I saw or heard about. Yeah, and it was really cool.
Well, that's cool. It sounds like it was a real cultural event.
Yeah, for a subset of people in the world, this was. I was comparing it to like this was Live Aid for leftist video game nerds.
And I bet Nintendo was like, man, we should re-release Donkey Kong 64. Such a great game, so popular. Yeah.
And yeah, Donkey Kong 64 looks weird. Like I was watching the final boss fight, and it's like at one point they're fighting the King K. Rool's toes like as a mini game, like individually. Yeah. And then the whole thing is like a boxing match, but.
Oh yeah, I have not gotten very far in Donkey Kong 64. I gave up after a while. I was like, man,
That's what it's like lost. It's your third-person platformer in the vein of like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what I gathered.
It's like there's like 5 or 4 apes, and they all have to collect their own bananas and their own coin and all this other crap, and it's just so you basically have to go through each level like with 5 different people and then do all this different shit. It's like,
yeah, well, because that was the final boss. You had to fight him like a different segment as each of the 5 characters.
Oh, yeah. It was probably a cool boss fight, I would imagine.
That was interesting.
All right, cool. All right, well, you got anything else for us?
No, otherwise it's like we've reached that point where it's like there's really not much but video games coming out on the horizon. There's a lot of people like getting worried about the indie apocalypse with all the Steam changes. But people get worried about the indie apocalypse like every 5 years anyway. So
well, it seems like every couple of months I hear indie apocalypse. So can apocalypse happen more than once? I thought it only happened once. Right?
Well, it's one of those things. It'll be news once it's actually once I see it, then it's news.
Yeah. And I mean, indie games are supposed to make a lot of money. I mean, I don't understand this. Well,
that's the thing that people you point out. It's like like most of these guys start making a lot of money anyway.
Yeah. So what are they talking about? So.
I mean, it's the indie apocalypse if the big guys go down, but who's a big indie guy? What is this?
I mean, what is a big? I mean, I would say when I think of big indie, I think like super giant games like Hades and Bastion, those guys. Yeah. But I mean, and like what do you call it? The Firewatch guys. But they got bought up by Valve though, so right? So they're not really indie.
I guess. Well, yeah, we'll call it the indie apocalypse if the indie developers who are big enough to survive a flop. If once they stop surviving their flops, then we'll call it the indie apocalypse.
What an industry where you like if you make something that's bad, like you're fucked. You better make a great game. You better make a game that sells. You have no control.
Yeah. Not even if it's bad. If you make a good game and it just doesn't take off, you're still fucked. Yeah.
We're all on bad business, folks. All right. But podcasting is it's the side business to make money on, right?
I don't know. We've had so many bad episodes and we have yet to lose any money.
We're still surviving.
Not lost any money on this podcast.
Yeah.
Haven't made it either.
Just time. Just lost time. I believe it's opportunity cost, right? What could we do in this hour every Thursday?
I'd be playing video games probably.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, all right, so we will take a quick break, and we will be back with the games we've been playing. All right. I'm pretty much
I'm all set.
All right, let me take a drink, and we'll get going on.
So what happens at YouTube at this part of the show? I haven't actually watched.
It's just
are we still here? Like, are they still watching us?
I could black it out, I guess, I suppose. Turn off. Who cares? I think it's this podcasting producing magic, proprietary information. Okay. All right. Okay, we're back.
Traffic.
We should have big.
Now we're back.
We're back, folks. Frank, why don't you tell us about the games you've been playing?
Sure. I beat Prey finally.
Oh, nice. All right. So, what kind of ending did you get?
How
did you do? Because you can beat it in a couple of ways. So how did you?
You beat it in a ton of different ways.
Did you save your brother?
I did what I believe to be the like just shy of like the nicest ending. Because apparently I killed somebody. Like I looked at the end stats and it said I killed one human, and I don't have any idea who. Maybe I shot somebody who was mind controlled or something. I don't remember.
Or there are a couple scenarios where people are like locked out in space and you need to like save them. So there's a couple of things like that. So that may have been it too.
Because I did not get the trophy for having the maximum empathy ending, but otherwise it seemed like I got all of the. They said nice things about me after the twist, and then I decided not to kill everybody. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I think I've already spoiled this game on this podcast before.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this will be a huge spoiler for Prey, but the game is just kind of weird. So when I beat it near the end of it, I was trying to like partner up with the brother, the other guy. It's not Morgan because
Mhm.
you're Morgan. What's the other guy's name?
Alex.
Alex, right? But he like, and we were trying to go to the escape pod, but he died like on the way to there. So that like threw a wrench into it, into my thing. But I
No,
don't know.
I saved him. You have to you have to just drag him back into his safe room.
Yeah, that's right. That is correct because his body's like floating around, right? Yeah, I think I read
Yeah.
that later.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know what to do with him either until I noticed that I had a mission objective to like save him, and I'm like, because I started to just fly away, and like do stuff, and then I was like, wait, why do I still have mission markers up there? And it was because the game's like, hey, you should maybe like put him somewhere where he won't get murdered.
Mhm.
I was like, fine.
What did you think about my issue with like the last maybe quarter, maybe fifth of the game, 20%, was that it's just it throws all these like robots with these flame torches at you,
Yeah,
and those are
yeah.
like so annoying, and it just
Well,
kind of
they've
becomes
got lasers because the normal evil robots have
yeah,
flamethrowers,
you're
or
right,
some
yeah.
of them do. Uh,
And so by
yeah,
that
it's
time,
the
if you
combat robots.
yeah, and if you haven't like upgraded your weapons or your fighting skills, you're pretty much screwed for the most part, right? So how did you react to those
Well, at that
instances?
point, like I had already gone and broke the difficulty of the game quite a bit,
Yeah,
like because it's one of those games that there's way like in theory you could screw yourself, like you can run out of resources or you can kind of badly optimize your character. Um, but there's way more like side missions and like rooms and like just junk to pick up and put in the recycler to make into more stuff. So by the time I had reached that point, I like could kill any enemy very quickly.
no problem.
Yeah, I had max health, I had max stamina, I had maxed out shotgun, I had the maxed out slow mo extra damage power. I had special chips that gave me a chance of doing critical hits with the shotgun and some of my other weapons. Um, so because I'd maxed out most of the human side of the powers at that point. Yeah, look, I'd used 100. I don't know if I'd used them all, but I'd collected like 180 neuromods by the end of the
Oh yeah,
game,
damn. This
and
is
then not used a single one on an alien power. So I was pretty tough. Yeah, so like nothing was really a threat at that point. Like things were just kind of annoyances. But fighting those robots is so annoying.
yeah.
Like they're my least favorite enemy like in the game throughout. And then it's now the end of the game's like, hey, what if we threw a fuck ton at you?
Yeah, and well, you basically have to shock them, right, and then just like pound them with your wrench on the ground. I think that was my most effective.
Yeah, well, I
thing.
glue gun. I love the glue gun in that game, so I did that a lot. It doesn't because I had a lot more ammo for that than the shock. I had the shock grenades. Like I had so many EMP grenades because you so rarely need them in the main game that it was like, yeah, I'd throw EMP grenades at everybody and then I'd just hack a couple of the robots and then let them fight amongst themselves. And then, but what's really annoying is when you get to the parts where the robot like generating terminals that like throughout the game you can like hack a terminal or unlock a terminal and like make a healing robot or an armor replacing robot out of it. But those all get hacked and start making the more of the combat robots. And there's no way to stop them at first, it seemed. So I was like, I was just running. Like at that point, because I've also like maxed out the speed, and I found I did an obscure-ish side mission that got me a chip that gave me an actual jetpack. So like
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even need the glue gun to like make stairs to get to anywhere. I could just
I didn't know that. I didn't know you got a cool.
It was yeah, and to get it, it was actually a huge pain in the butt. I had to look it up. I was trying because one of my big problems with the game is that it arbitrarily decides like some things it makes you find yourself versus some things it will give you a mission objective for, and a lot of them like because it's got that okay, admittedly kind of neat system where you can like find the tracking bracelets. You go to a security terminal and you can like look up people who are alive and dead and like and then you can like set a mission objective for a corpse like where's this guy, he might have the key I want, so I go and find him and then select his tracking bracelet as like the mission objective, and then it gives you on the heads up display where that is. Well, this was a part where you needed to do that. Like the guy is floating out in space, like out, like he's in a random kind of spot, like out in space, and you actually have to fly out to where you start getting hurt from radiation because you're too far away from the space station. And I looked and I looked and I looked because I knew he was out there, and I'm like, why don't I have? It's a mission. Why don't I have a mission objective? And it turned out that I had to just go back, find a terminal, scroll through all the names until I saw the dude's name, select him, then go back outside, and then I could actually see where he was. Which isn't annoying in and of itself, but like if it's a story mission and you have to find a specific person, it just gives you the story mission like marker. So the game's kind of inconsistent in the way it treats that stuff. There's a couple other like incidents similar to that where I'm like, oh, why do I have to find this myself? When something else that like no computer should be able to tell me where it is, but because it's a story mission, I'll just magically have the exact spot where I need to go on my heads up display. But relatively minor complaint. But anyway, I found that guy, and yeah, he's got a chip that gives you a jetpack. And if you combine that with the maxed out agility skill, you can just like parkour all over the damn place.
That's cool. Yeah, speaking of which, all those missions within missions and all that stuff, man, there's so much depth to this game, and I'd be actually interested to just see everything, just kind of like summarized or like put together.
Well, I almost at the end I was like, there's too much stuff because I decided I was gonna do all the side missions I had before I finished the game, and it turned into just Backtrack-a-Palooza, and I got very annoyed. Because then the end of the game is also Backtrack-a-Palooza, like. But you never know like when you're gonna lose out on a side mission. Like there's one where you have to find a guy's this guy wants you to find his dead wife, or he doesn't know she's dead, but you go and you find and she's a monster, and then you get the wedding ring off of her corpse. But I didn't get the mission to start. But I did find the wedding ring and was like, so then I just looked up online. Like I just looked at a wiki, like, what do I do with this wedding ring? And they're like, oh, well, this guy has a mission to do it. But because I had already gotten farther in the story, I went and talked to the guy. He wasn't dead. I went back and talked to him, and I couldn't get him to talk to me about this thing.
Really?
And so I actually like just took the ring and dropped it in front of him. I'm like, there, wife's dead, by the way. Nothing.
Did he do
like
anything, or?
No. It was just like that mission I'd missed my chance to like have him talk about that. But yeah, so I got kind of annoyed like running around because I at the end I'm spending so much more time in load screens than actually like in the game.
Yeah.
Because when you have to go from point A to point B and there's like 2 load screens in the way and you're just like booking it, you just run. Like at one point near the end of the game, you've got like a 15-minute timer on a mission. And it took me like 5 minutes to actually get there of the game timer. But it probably took like twice that with load times. Because the game has relatively long load times. And you don't really notice at first. Because early in the game, you're creeping around one area. But by the end of the game where you're like, you got to run through 3 different areas, like in a quick succession, and you've mostly cleared things out, and anything that does respawn is not going to be a super big threat. It got super duper annoying. Yeah. I was getting really sick of load screens by the end.
How about those nightmare scenarios when you would like get to a spot, and then this giant beast thing would just be like running around, and you would have to like outlast for like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Did you? I didn't enjoy any of those, and I just hit until that thing was out of there. Like, how did you take it? Do you know what I'm
I
talking
killed every single one.
about? Okay. All
Like
right,
I
so maybe we're
never,
partial.
the first one was relatively difficult, but I threw a bunch of grenades at him because I never really was low on ammo as long as I just switched up whatever weapons I was using. But no, by the end of the game, like I hadn't scanned them all yet, and I was like, oh, I want one more to scan, to finally like get 5 scans on it. So I was like actually running around hoping one would show up. Supposedly they show up at specific times in the story, and then also they show up after you've used a certain amount of neuromods or earned a certain amount of powers. But yeah, no, I just did my strategy of activate my slow-mo power and circle strafe around him with the old shotgun, and it worked every time. And,
Alien technology, they can't figure out circle strafe. So,
well, he'd still hit me like plenty, but it's like I killed him so fast. He only really got off a couple of hits, and then I got 300 health and 100 armor, and so yeah. I'm sure they will be very scary when I play Moon Crash and like I have to play with specific builds and not just a character who spent 25 hours scouring the entire thing for every power up I could get.
yeah.
But yeah, as we're saying, those robots are super annoying because they're like briefcase sized and they face you the narrow way when they're attacking, and then they kind of hop to the side. So I just use my slow-mo power because they're super obnoxious to like track.
Well, and they're
Though it's funny
too.
yeah. Well, they're oddly slow. Like I assumed the military ones would be like faster. And I'm like, these are supposed to be military robots, but they're still like just as slow to target you. So yeah, they weren't really a threat. They were just obnoxious. But I did figure out eventually you could just stack objects in front of the things that generate them, and then they couldn't make any more. I was like, because I was remembering like, oh yeah, if you like stood in front of it, it would be like the machine would be like, aperture blocked, please, clear aperture. So yeah, I was like, I wanted to hang out in an area and was getting sick of them fighting them. So I just started like stacking refrigerators in front of the places where they would spawn. But yeah, so that got annoying. Like, let's have an annoying new enemy. Not as bad as the old System Shock 2 of like, I sure hope that you didn't spec your character for fighting robots and using energy weapons because the whole third act, that's useless. But a little obnoxious. And the load screens were super obnoxious. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Like with the giant monster that shows up at the end, there was some cool like vistas. Like when you get to the bridge and you see the whole thing around the ship, it looks pretty damn cool. So I don't know. I still like the game, but it's just got a lot of little things that bother me.
Yeah, the world and the story and the pieces are all really, really good. It's really just the enemies, I think. It's just...
Yeah.
Do we even need enemies in this game, really? I mean, I don't know. They should just make like more human mechanical enemies. Just have drones.
Yeah.
Just fight robots,
Well, there's one like human, like it's like a weird boss fight. It's like the one fight person, and he's actually super dangerous. Like he did way more damage to me than the Nightmare did because he just shot me with a gun at point blank range.
Isn't it like the captain or something like that of like the mercenaries?
Yeah, he's the like military guy who's coming to like take. He's the guy in charge of the robots.
Yeah, and he's got 2 robots flanking him. I think. Yeah, I remember that. I think.
When you like if you're doing a certain mission, you don't want to kill him. So I was trying to glue him up, but he kept breaking out, and I was like, oh yeah, I should just stun him with the stun gun. That worked. But
all right,
yeah, interesting game. I'll definitely get around to Moon Crash at some point, and I did download the multiplayer game, which weird. It's treated as a separate game, Typhon Hunter, where it's 1 human versus 5 mimics, and you've got 5 minutes to find and kill all the mimics to win.
Oh God, jeez.
Yeah, but they have like meters, like they can only stay disguised for so long. uh,
Yeah.
and then they can also they can kill you, they can kill the guy, but that just costs him time. He just respawns. So it looks interesting, but it doesn't look like anything that's got staying power for a multiplayer mode. It's like just one kind of quirky multiplayer mode.
No.
Like, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, I won't play multiplayer. I'll pray. All right. Okay, so we'll move along here and try to get this going here. Okay, so really quick, I played Blackout, the Black Ops 4 Battle Royale. They had a free trial for, I guess it was actually 5 days. And I think it just ended because I got an email from Activision saying, hey, keep it going. And by the way, when I download this, you have to give them your email address and register. And that's not a big fan of that. That was almost a deal breaker right there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's battle royale. I mean, it's fast, it's smooth. It's I'm not sure if it's exactly 60 frames all the time, but it's pretty consistent. Textures are not good. This is not a really great looking game. It just runs really well, and it actually some of the textures look worse than PUBG actually, and yeah, not great looking. They had really toned down the fidelity to get this big ass map, and the map's really not even that big. You definitely play it a couple times, and you're definitely going to hit a bunch of spots over and over again, pretty quick. A couple other things about this: the menu system that they have instead of the crazy PUBG menu system, it's a little bit more functional. It's still not perfect, but I mean for a controller. It's built for a controller, obviously, so it's a little bit. It's pretty. It's definitely better than PUBG, I would say. Not perfect. I thought the gunplay and the firing, I thought it felt pretty random, and maybe that was the auto aim, maybe it was the bullets. I don't know. I'm not really used to Call of Duty bullets physics. Yeah, again, I'm not really used to them, but I didn't feel like I could like hit people, like shoot people and hit people and all that stuff. So maybe it's because I've been playing PUBG, which has like absolutely no auto aim, but the bullets really weren't going where I wanted them to go. And again, maybe just because I suck. And maybe just because I didn't own the weapons, and also that's another thing. These weapons are these kind of crazy near future sci-fi weapons, and I don't really know what shit is. And again, if you've been playing Call of Duty for 4 years for Black Ops, you know all this stuff. But I'm like, man, what does this do? Like, what is this? And again, I'm sure just getting repetitions and doing all that stuff, you'll figure it out. But and I thought the audio mix was not great either. Like I didn't think I could locate. Because like PUBG, you'll hear like a gunshot, and like by the time the echo is like done, you can like rotate your camera and figure out what degree that person is firing you from. But I thought the audio mix was not great on this. But yeah, and then it's got some of this other like non-realistic stuff, which I'm not a big fan of. There's like a sensor dart, so you can like shoot this sensor dart at an area, and then it'll like tell you where all the players are for a couple seconds. I think that's whack. That's pretty lame as fuck. And then they got that. They got this that zombie stuff, which I guess is kind of cool. But when you're actually playing the game, you don't want to be messing around with zombies and shooting them and drawing attention to yourself. And then they got these perk systems that you can like pick up and like give yourself like better perks and different stats on. I don't like any of that. I don't know it's all this Call of Duty crap, but that's not for me. I don't like this kind of fake bullshit. Kind of like a space sim, kind of like that. But yeah. So, anyways, if you're a big Call of Duty fan and you want something that runs really well, I mean, I guess it's pretty good battle royale, and you don't want to mess around with this PUBG bullshit. It's probably the best option like right now for consoles. On PCs, I think there's actually probably a couple of better options like Ring of Elysium and stuff like that. Yeah, so I played a couple rounds, but I moved over back to PUBG pretty quick. And then speaking of PUBG, they had their big update on Tuesday, which I've been waiting for a lot. And by the way, I set my PlayStation on sleep, and I was trying to get this auto download. So when I would wake up, early, and I'll be all downloaded. Nope, did not happen. I woke up and I had to download 7 gigs. So I was.
It never
upset.
does. It's always it knows that you really want it.
Well, it's inconsistent because Battlefield it did. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's annoying. It's when you really want a game. I think that's what fucks up. But can we get some consistency on this thing? Can we please do it? I don't know. So yeah, this was the update with the winter map, which is already kind of out on the beta test server. The map's actually really good now that I've actually played it quite a bit because I've been playing pretty much the past couple days. It's a really good map. it's good because you can, when the circles close down and you have to get to that, sometimes you'll get fucked because you'll be way too far away. You have to like get a car, and if you don't have a car, you'll be screwed. But you can get to like pretty much every circle just by running for the most part, unless you're on the opposite side of the map. So that's good. You got to get used to the white snow on your eyes if you're used to more like looking at green trees and stuff like that. It kind of took me a while to get my eyes used to it. Um, and yeah, so the big thing also was that there was going to be a better performance with this. They're touting this on their blogs about how they're going to increase the performance. It definitely is smoother and better, but it's nowhere near 60 frames per second. I'd say it's probably maybe a 10 to 15% increase for frame rate, maybe smoothest or whatever. So I would be interested to see the Digital Foundry video, see what actually happens. But yeah, it doesn't. It's a little bit better, but it's not. I mean, it's not fucking Fortnite running at 60 frames. It's not Call of Duty like at all. But I've been playing PUBG a lot, and I've been, I'll sometimes play squads with randos, and people will have mics, and then I'll invite them and all this stuff. And then after a couple of games, you'll be like, man, this guy actually like really sucks. But he'll actually want to keep on playing with you and still inviting you. You just have to find excuses not to play with him. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much all I got going. So, all right. So it's getting late into the night. By the way, how's the weather over there?
It's cold.
Did you get a deluge?
Cold. No, we haven't had a lot of snow. I had some dustings, but the cold has finally hit us.
Yeah, it's 0 degrees in
it's like,
right now, so I'm sure it's pretty similar over there.
Yeah, and it was very late in the season for us to hit below 0, but it's here.
So I'm sure it's
it's a heat on.
That's quite a bit. All right, so I will let Frank get back to chopping some wood so we can throw it back on the fire and heat up the hearth.
Let's get some blankets going.
Yeah.
Hot cocoa.
Right. Okay, so for Frank White, my name is Chris Stats. It's been Chris Frank Games. Thanks for listening and watching as always, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
All right, bye-bye.